Hey, what's going on, everybody? So Stray is a single-player adventure game developed by Blue 12 Studio and published by Annapurna Interactive that released on July 19th. I'm sure we've all heard about Stray by now, whether it was from that first announcement of it or when we got the first glimpse of gameplay. But when those first images and clips did come out, what was really exciting about it was that it didn't look like just any cat game. There was something distinctly interesting about it. It kind of had that cool factor, and that's what gets people talking, and this one was talked about a lot until its release just a few weeks ago. So the game starts out with you being in control of a stray cat who's in the company of a few other cats as they just sort of wander around in this somewhat overgrown, desolate area of the world that honestly doesn't seem like too out of the ordinary. But soon after, you unfortunately find yourself entering into this much darker, bleaker underworld that is very foreign and dangerous. So right away, like, one of my favorite things about this game is the fact that you get your knowledge of what's going on in this world by exploring and taking in everything around you, taking in your surroundings. And that's a lot of what happens here in the beginning of the game, where you just kind of have to, like, roam around, wander around, and just like a cat might do in this scenario, you are just being a cat and you're just learning about what's going on here and just kind of going into the unknown. But what adds to it here is the fact that, like, a cat really wouldn't care that much about the surroundings. Probably it would treat it like it does any other place and any other setting. It would continue to scratch things that are scratchable, drink water from random puddles, jump on anything that you can jump on, and that's what it feels like here. It feels like, there's things going on around you, of course, and there's a bigger world that's being set up for you, but you are still just doing cat things. But now the tough thing going forward with this is going to be, like, trying to avoid talking too much or showing, like, too much footage that's way far into the game, or not very far, because as I'm sure you've heard by now, this is a pretty short game. I'd say it's anywhere from like 4 to 6 hours for the main storyline if you're just kind of streamlining it, maybe a little bit longer if you take your time in the bigger parts of the game when there's like a bit more of an expanded area to explore. But it's still very much a game that you can finish in like 1 to 2 sessions if you want to. And we might as well talk about that right now, which is just that for me, I didn't mind that at all, because short games is kind of one of the things like I look for the most in games. It's very appealing to me, and it might not be for you. So of course, if that's the case, maybe this one will be a pass, or you kind of just watch someone else play it or something. But yeah, I definitely did not mind that. It also did help getting to download this from the PlayStation Extra, or it might be called something differently. But yeah, just not having to pay the full price for just this game alone, that did help. But I guarantee you, like, I know I would have bought this regardless if it was something I had to do, and I still think I would have felt fulfilled, like, with the experience of it all. But back into the game now. Like I said before, there is a lot of fun to be had with just roaming around and exploring, but because you are kind of limited to where you can jump and what you can interact with and things like that, it's not exactly like the most free roaming experience out there. So there's a big limit onto what you can do, and so I do think there's like a point where you're gonna get tired of that, and you're just gonna, instead of like roaming around, you're just gonna be like, all right, I've done pretty much everything I can do, let me go and push the story forward. So it does kind of force you a little bit. Again, you don't have to, but there's only so much that you can do here. And beyond that, this game, as you go further and further into it, becomes more and more of a puzzle game, and I had a lot of fun with that too. Pretty much every section of this I really did enjoy. If I had any complaint for it, it might be that overall, like, the game is pretty easy. I died my fair share of times, but like to those strange robot bug things, and the drones that follow you and like will shoot at you and stuff. But for the most part, this game is pretty easy. Those are really the only threats around. But yeah, I didn't really get tired of them at all, because there is enough variety here between the different sections of the games and puzzles that it just didn't feel too much of like doing the same thing again and again and again. As you went further and like changed different settings and got into different parts of this whole world, the puzzles also changed in certain ways. Like, I won't say exactly how, but yeah, there was enough variety here. And I think also visually, the fact that it was visually different also was a huge help. Let's talk more about the visuals actually, but also some of the music as well. I really do mean it that the visuals were striking here, with like a very good clash of cool and warm tones as you went into different areas, and it pulled out like those stylish expectations you have of a cyberpunk futuristic setting, but also having that messy, dirty feel of an underground dystopia. And with that, you have some really great music here. It's very subtle. This game can be really, really quiet at times when you're just kind of roaming around outside. There's like almost nothing playing, and you're just kind of hearing the quiet of this dystopia, of this, again, like this desolate desolate place, and it's just very, it's not very eerie though. It's kind of relaxing, it's calming. It's never like there's looming threats all around you. It's more of a calming feel, which I think is nice. I really like that. But then when you got into the parts of the game where you were doing something, like it knew when you were about to like do some kind of a part of the story, like it knew you were about to do the next part of the main storyline or something, because the music would pick up and it would be like, okay, you're in the right area now because the music is getting louder. And in those sections though, it was so good. It was still kind of subtle, but it was just very easy to listen to. One of those like soundtracks, one of those scores that if it had that music in the menu, and I don't actually remember if it did or not, I don't remember the menu too much, but I could just like put that on and just listen to it. Overall, there is a unique feel to this, and more than just that you're seeing it from the perspective of a cat, there's like an actual unique look and sound and like feel to everything, and that was probably the best thing about this. And all right, last but not least, let's talk about the story and the world in Stray. I'm gonna get right into my least favorite thing about the whole game here, because it's just the thing on my mind right now, and that's the tone of this game. For the most part, I think they did nail it with a lot of the characters who were just like a little bit quirky and likable, and to use a bit of an overused term, they had a lived-in feel to them, and I did enjoy that. But there was also like kind of a bit of a clash between some like weird humor every once in a while and dialogue that kind of felt a bit forced, and a lot of repetitive dialogue if you started talking like to a bunch of people around. Yeah, that never bothered me too much, but it was always kind of like, I was always kind of in a weird place in this game with the tone of it, at least, where I wasn't sure if they were taking things like very seriously and telling this like heavy story, or if it was supposed to have a lighter tone. But they definitely could have been going for that, like the sort of mixture of tones here, because like I mentioned earlier, like a cat is just gonna want to be a cat no matter where they are or what's going on. That also comes off very strongly within the storyline too. There's a lot of heavy stuff going on, some big themes are being tackled, but the like actual humor of it all is that a cat is the one that's at the center of it all. But like all that being said, still, I do think they just barely missed the mark in what they were like ultimately trying to say here, because the tone was never fully established, and I don't know, again, that could be what they were going for, but that's just how I feel. And I was sort of just kind of always just questionable on like what are they really trying to do here, I guess. And there is a lot more to the story that I want to talk about, of course, but I prefer just to like talk around it rather than saying anything too direct, because of course it's always better to experience it for yourself without knowing too much. So all in all, you know, just kind of wrapping it up here, when I started this game, I was super excited to jump into it and play the cat game like everybody else. That was always the selling point of this, and it was gonna make waves like no matter what it did beyond that. It was the cat game, you know? However, once that sort of starts to feel more and more normal, like the cuteness of everything that's going on, it starts to pass just a little bit. It's always there, but you know, it starts to pass and you're sort of left more with the game itself. I did feel like it was very important to figure out if this was really just like a cat game, or if it could be something even more than that. And when I saw those credits roll, and I really just like sat back and took in everything that the game had just given me over the course of the 5 or so hours that I played it, there was no doubt in my mind that I had just played something so much bigger than just a cat game. It had a story to tell, a world to build, characters to develop, and it succeeded in doing all those things. I feel like it wasn't perfect. It definitely wasn't perfect, but I really appreciated what they gave us here. And they even gave us a Meow button to go with it. I really enjoyed this one. I debated about it a bit, but I think I do recommend this one to anybody that has any interest in it. I've never given ratings to games before, and I don't think they matter all that much in the end, but I do think they can be kind of fun, so I'm gonna start with this one actually. And I thought about it. I'm gonna give Stray an 8.6 out of 10. It didn't quite hit me as much as I think it could have, which does keep it from being in the great range, which I consider to be the 9 to 10, but it's more than likely gonna end up on my favorites of the year list anyway, and I want to see what other people think about this. I haven't seen too many reviews on it, so I'm excited to check that out. So thank you all so much for watching this. Seriously, I do appreciate it so much. I'm gonna give a small apology here just for taking such an extended break, but it was definitely needed. I'm feeling so much better now. I'm looking forward to making more videos. But yeah, again, thank you all so much. I hope to see you all in the next one. And until then, everybody, take care.